Shadow the Hedgehog, the world's ultimate life form. The edgy one, the one who goes around with the guns, who has a lot. Yeah, him. I've never done one of these sorts of videos before, but yeah, it's about him. It's probably gonna be bad, but Shadow is my favorite Sonic character. Never heard that before, have you? No one's favorite Sonic character, Shadow. Shocker. But the thing is that he's always been my favorite. Well, except for when I was little, it was Knuckles. I was at the age where I didn't know his name. I just called him the Red One. I didn't know who Shadow was, but when I learned about Shadow and got older, it was Shadow. Hell, I even like his game. It's not a good game, but I like it. I've never really thought about why I like Shadow. Maybe it's just because he's cool. He says it. He's like, I'm the coolest. That's pretty cool, like. I'm gonna take his word for it. So, gonna try and figure out why I like him. So, for people in the back who don't know, or the ones who only know, man's girl got shot, I'll go over his story again. Shadow was created 50 years ago upon the space colony Ark, in a government-funded operation dubbed Project Shadow, which was meant to find the means for immortality, and to create the ultimate life form. The project's leader, Gerald Robotnik, had other plans. His granddaughter, Maria Robotnik, had a terminal illness called Neuroimmune Deficiency Syndrome, or NIDS for short, which was a fatal illness and had no cure. Gerald, seeing Project Shadow as an opportunity to perhaps find a cure for his granddaughter's sickness, designed Shadow to not just be the ultimate life form, but the cure to all known illnesses. However, in the process of trying to appease the government's wishes, he went to a less than favorable source. I personally wouldn't go to an evil alien warlord who wants to eat people, but we went to an evil alien warlord who wants to eat people. The two made a deal where Black Doom would give Gerald some of his blood, and Gerald would promise in 50 years' time Shadow would gather the Chaos Emeralds and give them to Black Doom. Gerald, at the time at least, wasn't insane, so he obviously planned to double-cross Black Doom. But with the DNA he got from Black Doom, he made the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog. Little is known about what happened between this and the shutdown of the Ark, but from what we do know, Shadow and Maria became really good friends. Emerald happened, where Emerald went berserk and blew up a shit ton of the Ark. And a couple times Shadow's like, I don't know what I am anymore. And Maria's like, you cool. And just like, oh yeah, I am. You're right. Later, Gunn, who funded the whole thing, ordered the Ark Seal operation, where all scientists on board were either killed or arrested, all civilians were taken back down to the planet, and Maria gets shot. That wasn't part of the order, but it happened. It's implied to have been through the heart. Well, it's implied in the Shadow Generation's Dark Beginnings prologues, where that scene where Shadow's like tweaking and sees like the clouds in the form of Maria and lightning goes through her chest. That's beside the point. After that, Shadow is sent down to Earth, where the government would end up retrieving him and locking him away in a top-secret military base for 50 years. Upon learning of his granddaughter's death, Gerald goes insane. He ends up rewriting Shadow's memories of Maria's last wish to make him think she wanted vengeance instead of peace. Gerald is soon executed by a firing squad. 50 years pass, Gerald's grandson, Ivor Robotnik, also known as Dr. Eggman, breaks into the military base and unseals Shadow. Shadow tells Eggman to go to the Ark, doesn't give him much more information. And yes, I know I'm breaking down Shadow's story, but let's be honest, he's been in a lot of games, so I'm just gonna give like the Cliff Note version. In SA2, Shadow is unsealed by Eggman, steals the Chaos Emeralds, leading to Sonic's arrest.
Phew, so far so good. Hey, that's that blue hedgehog of all places. I found you, Faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Ha! You're not even good enough to be my fake.
I'll make you eat those words. I'm the coolest.
The Dark Trio blows up half the moon. Sonic uses Chaos Control with a fake emerald after seeing Shadow use it one time. Sonic rushes the cannon's core to stop the cannon from firing. Shadow chases him. Final story, Shadow's just chilling at the observation deck, waiting for everyone to fucking die. Amy walks in, reminds Shadow that he's kinda not got the promise right. And Shadow's like, oh, that's right. She wanted me to protect humanity, not destroy. Oh shit. Hold on, be right back. He skedaddles off, pulls up in front of Sonic and Knuckles. The Bio-Lizard's there, and she's just like, hold up. Let me cook. Kicks the Bio-Lizard's ass. Bio-Lizard uses Chaos Control to go away. In the English version, Shadow's like, is that what Chaos Control is? In the Japanese version, I'm pretty sure he says a much more fitting line, which is, was that Chaos Control? Sonic and Shadow go super, Live and Learn starts playing, everybody freaks out. Me being one of those people. They fight the final hazard, kick its ass, use Chaos Control to put the arc back into its place in orbit. Shadow falls down to Earth, originally having died, but then retconned. And onto Sonic Heroes. Rouge breaks into Eggman's top secret base or whatever, finds Shadow and Omega. Omega starts crashing out. He did not like that. Starts shooting everything. Shadow stops Omega from killing everyone. Team Dark is formed. Shadow has no memory of his past now. Shadow androids exist. They used to look exactly like Shadow. They don't look that anymore. But that causes him to not know if he's real or not. Then at the start of X, he goes, "You'll regret this, Doctor. Even if I'm not real, I'm still the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog." And at the end of the game, he doesn't go super to help out Sonic because, I don't know, the power of teamwork, I guess. Under Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm gonna have to go into a bit more detail for this one, so... We all know this game sort of botched Shadow's character, but still this game. And I'm fine with it, honestly, it's not that bad. So... Black Doom pulls up. Shadow's like, "Weird alien guy. Who the hell are you?" Black Doom's like, "Yo bro, you should totally get me some cool rocks." And Shadow's like, "I think you're onto something. I'll do that for you. Be right back." Then there's multiple pathways. Most of them don't work that well because the cutscenes only work for certain pathways, so 95% of the time it makes no sense. And in each ending, Shadow goes either, "I'm gonna kill everyone," or "I'm gonna take over the world," or "Get the hell out of my house, you egg-shaped moron," or "I should never have been created," or even, "I've been good up until this point, but fucking hell, you piss me off, you blue son of a bitch, I'm gonna kill you," or even, "Black Doom, you's a bitch, die." And none of them are canon. The only things in the game that we know are canon are the first cutscene, Westopolis, the final story. That's it. And in the final story, where Black Doom pulls up, paralyzes everyone with nerve gas or some shit. Shadow is immune because he's the coolest and has Black Arms DNA. Black Doom warps a Black Comet to Earth. Shadow gets hit with the psychic attack. And then he gets FaceTimed by his dead family. Then gets the Chaos Emerald to go super. Beats the shit out of Devil Doom, throws Black Doom's house in front of the Ark, blows that shit the fuck up, and in the credits, well after the credits, he throws away a picture of Gerald and Maria while saying, "Goodbye forever, Shadow the Hedgehog." And then in Sonic Battle, which is the next game in the timeline, I haven't really played through it, also don't know it for certain, but just take my words with a grain of salt. At first, Shadow wants to destroy Emerald, I know that, I played that at least, at the very start of the game. Eventually Shadow ends up taking on a sort of mentor role for Emerald. Goes on an arc where he has to figure out its purpose in a way, I don't really know the specifics, but yeah, on to 06. Here, Shadow is either working for or with Gun to investigate Soliana, the City of Water, or something like that. Shadow and Rouge acquire an artifact known as the Scepter of Darkness, which ends up shattering, releasing the being known as Mephiles the Dark, who quite literally takes the form of Shadow's shadow. Shadow and Rouge are sent 200 years into the future, where they end up finding Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. And both groups split up to find some Chaos Emeralds. They find an emerald. They find another one. Rouge goes up to grab it. Shadow goes, "Don't touch it!" Iblis pulls up and starts beefing. They whoop its ass. Sonic and Shadow just somehow know to use Chaos Control at the same time to time travel. Everyone goes for the portal except for Shadow because he spots his number one op, Mephiles. And Mephiles tries to manipulate Shadow by saying Shadow was blamed for the destruction of the future and shows him proof of what he's saying. Then, well, specifically what Mephiles says is, "Come with me, Shadow. Let us punish this foolish world of humanity. You have every right to want justice." And Shadow straight up responds, "That's absurd. Whatever it is you want to do,
You can do it alone.
Mephiles replies with, "You forgive humanity this folly then?" And Shadow responds with, of course,
I determine my own destiny.
and then the two throw hands. Shadow starts getting cooked. Omega, being the absolute lad that he is, pulls up and tries to fucking ice Mephiles. Mephiles is all like, "Oh hell nah, you guys are ganking up on me." Shadow's like,
Motherfucker, you literally just had an army of minions or whatever, and you still lost. You're trash.
and Mephiles is like, "That's cap, I'm out." And makes a portal thing back to the past, which Shadow and Omega follow him into. Later on, Omega is just straight up icing Mephiles, and Mephiles basically tells him he's the one who locked up Shadow in the future. Omega then fucking mag dumps into Mephiles, and Mephiles starts laughing because he's a freak! Omega goes up to Shadow, tells him he's the one who seals him in the future. Shadow's just shook for a second. Like, Omega's his friend. That's a lot of information. Then he just walks off. Not before Rouge hits him with,
Shadow, even if you believe everyone in the world will be against you, know that I'll always remain by your side. Remember that.
Shadow just nods and says he will. But then some important stuff happens. Shadow roundhouse kicks Silph in the back of the head. Do go off to 10 years in the past, do some stuff. Shadow goes to the Dusty Desert to face Mephiles. Then, we get the scene.
Destroyed!
The Eye of Now absorbed your power through your shadow in the past. What may have worked 10 years ago no longer does. You must realize now that you cannot hope to stop me with your limited power.
So you say.
It's futile. The world will betray you. Why fight at all? Why risk your life for those who will persecute you later?
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
Shadow basically disappears in games from here. We get Sonic and the Black Knight, but Lancelot isn't Shadow. Then, after a couple years, basically a decade, Shadow finally gets something in Shadow Generation. Well, he was in Forces, but he just kind of beat the shit out of Infinite. Infinite goes, "I am not weak," because Shadow called him pathetic. But no, worthless. Then he just does jack shit. Then, as I was saying, in Shadow Generations. But first, the Dark Beginnings animations. Shadow is having a vision of his time in the Ark, basically recapping all this trauma. Then Man wakes up and straight up caps a fucking tree with a Chaos Spear, and goes, "That was no mere nightmare. Could he have survived? No. I need answers," and then skedaddles off. Next one, Man breaks into Eggman's holiday home or something. Base in the middle of the desert. Shadow goes to find a space shuttle to reach the Ark. Rouge and Omega pull up. Shadow tells Rouge he has reason to believe the Black Arms have returned. They curb stomp an Eggbreaker. Rouge makes him promise to attend Sonic's birthday party. Final episode, they're at a gun base. Shadow does some badass shit. He's about to be shot down, but military shit. The gun commander pulls up and makes all the units stand down and shit. Meanwhile, on the shuttle, Shadow starts having a panic attack, then tells himself that he has to focus on the mission to snap himself out of it. That's a scene I actually really like. Now, actually onto Shadow Generations. Spoiler warning, I guess. The game's been out for a while, but for you guys who haven't played it, there you go. Shadow finds Black Doom, who just loves Radical Highway, and is like,
You son of a bitch, how the hell are you anything?
and Black Doom's all like,
Good job, Shadow.
and Shadow's all like,
I'm actually going to murder you again!
and then Shadow grabs a fake Chaos Emerald Tails made in SA2. Time Eater shows up. Bam, Shadow's in white space. Shadow goes to Space Colony Arc Act 2 and gets Doom Wing for some reason. And after that, he's all like,
What the hell did I just do? But also, damn, that was cool as hell.
and then he spots something off in the distance. It's Maria. Then a fucking jump scare because it abruptly cuts to Maria getting capped out of nowhere. Shadow's all like,
Oh hell no, I'm actually seeing shit, I need to lock in.
Shadow does some more stuff, fights the Bio Lizard for a second and a half time. And after the fight, Black Doom fucking pulls up, because of course he does. And Black Doom basically says,
Bro, you're kinda cooking right now, I ain't even gonna lie.
and Shadow's like,
The only thing I'm gonna be cooking is you. Square up, bitch.
and Black Doom just like,
Oh, hell nah. We can do that later. Me and you? No, we ain't ready yet.
and Shadow tries to beat up a hologram for some reason. Then Shadow finds Maria, is shook for a good reason. Some more stuff happens. He solos Metal Overlord. Gerald says,
Shadow, my boy! That son of a bitch, Black Doom, is going to take over your body, you hear?
and Shadow's like,
You made me the ultimate life form. Like hell I'm letting that guy take over me.
some more things happen. Shadow crashes out. Maria does the stop it, this isn't you. Shadow's like,
Oh my bad god.
and then Dip's skipping some more. He throws down with Sonic, gets caught lacking. Sonic takes the emerald. Shadow's all like,
That was a fake.
I'm here like, motherfucker, Sonic can use Chaos Control with a fake Chaos Emerald. Why can't he have the real one? I'm sure you can pull it off too. Shadow goes and bullies Mephiles some more, locks him away in the Eternal Morty corner and goes, come to fucking bird. Flies down, says some stuff to Maria, actually smiles for once. Everyone watching is like, oh, that's so sweet. Cue Black Doom's hyperfixation on Radical Highway. And then Shadow goes through Radical Highway, of course. Then Shadow and Black Doom tussle. Shadow somehow blows that motherfucker up. Cue the sad final scene. Shadow shows up in white space again, his Doom powers vanish. Rouge pulls up and goes, Yo, Shadow, we gotta watch Sonic fight this dude, it'll be funny, trust. And Shadow says,
Maybe later. I got some unfinished business.
and then Rouge hits the craziest whatever I've ever heard. Shadow goes down to his fam. They start disappearing. Shadow's like,
Oh hell no, I'm not losing you again.
Shadow starts scampering off to go find Rouge and get his rock back. Maria tells him not to, and they have a heartfelt goodbye, and Shadow ends up shedding a tear. This scene made a shit ton of people cry, and frankly, I was almost one of the people who cried. That took a while. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Shadow has a shit ton of lore. That's pretty important. Now, on to Shadow's character. Shadow the Hedgehog. What do you think when you hear that name? There's a lot of different ways people interpret him. From the swearing gun-toting edgelord, to the quiet, calm hero who's just misunderstood and is actually a nice guy, to someone who doesn't give a shit and just does what he wants, and even to the funny, edgy guy who just loves Latinas, Sonic. What I'm trying to say here is we all have our own interpretations of the character. Some of you might agree with me, some of you might think it's complete and utter blasphemy for some reason. So here's how I see Shadow. Shadow is an extremely complicated person. On one hand, he's got arrogance, a short temper, and is willing to fight anyone if they get in his way. On the other hand, he's also calm, quiet, and tactical. And on the other hand, you have a lot of hands, just saying. Shadow is also extremely loyal and will sacrifice himself for the sake of those he cares about without hesitation. Shadow made a promise, and he has every intention of keeping it. I know some people like to think Shadow is friends with most of the cast, but honestly, I feel like he'd only consider Rouge and Omega friends. And he'd rarely, if ever, admit that he does. Like, the whole idea Shadow is friends with Sonic doesn't really sit right with me. He respects him. I'd go as far to say as Shadow trusts Sonic. But Sonic also genuinely annoys Shadow. Shadow is the type of person to have an objective, a plan to achieve it, 2 backups in case one goes wrong, and follows every step exactly just to minimize unneeded conflicts. Whereas Sonic is the type of person to run up to some eldritch horror and say, "Sup, name's Sonic! Could you maybe not destroy things?" And then almost die several times and somehow get out unscathed. Shadow is a lot of things. He's confident, he's arrogant, he's level-headed, he's short-tempered, he's calm, he's rude, he's introverted, he's vocal. Shadow is a walking contradiction. He's simultaneously everything he wants and wants not to be at the same time. Shadow is the ultimate life form, yet for some reason, this random blue hedgehog is able to be a complete equal match, despite not being the ultimate life form. That's the dichotomy of Shadow's character. He's both an unstoppable force of power, but despite being the ultimate life form, he still fails. He failed to save Maria, the one thing that meant the world to him. So he's going to keep the world she held so dearly safe, no matter what the cost is for him. Shadow is fueled by his past. It's what defines him. Every win, every loss. That's what makes him who he is. And frankly, I could say the most cliche thing here possible, and say he is all he is. But I'd prefer to end on this note. Shadow is defined by his past, not by people. Shadow doesn't care what other thinks, because he knows who he is because he's made himself that. Now onto his abilities. So, imagine Sonic, but just better in every possible way. They're rivals, yes, but let's not kid ourselves here. Shadow is the better of the two. Even if Sonic wins a lot of the fights, Shadow can do anything Sonic can do, plus he can use Chaos powers. Sonic has Chaos Control, that's it. Shadow also has Chaos Control, of course. But to name a few other than that, there's Chaos Spear, Chaos Blast, Chaos Snap, Chaos Boost, Chaos Magic, Roaming Chaos, Chaos Lance, the list goes on. And of course, Chaos Control. Also, Shadow can flip a bus with one hand. And not gonna lie, I don't think Sonic can do that. And not to mention, Shadow has the inhibitor rings, which I refuse to call them limiter rings. Shadow is intended to feel like an unstoppable force because he's the ultimate life form. Like seriously, how do you beat a dude who can run at Mach bajillion, shoot laser spears from his hands, teleport constantly, and straight up just explode everything around him within like 20 meters? This man can just do anything at this point, and it's cool as hell. So, quick side note, I want to get in here somehow. I'm not really a shipping person. Like, I don't really ship anything. But I do imagine that both Shadow and Sonic are aromantic asexual, or aroace for short. Meaning they don't experience attraction romantically or physically. It's just a headcanon. But I feel like it really fits. But anyway, in conclusion, why do I like Shadow the Hedgehog so much? Honestly, my answer hasn't changed. He's just really fucking cool. That's all, thanks for watching. So, this is the end of the video. You can leave now if you want. I've never done one of these sorts of videos before. This was a lot for me to try and do. It's probably shit, not gonna lie. But it's just something I kind of wanted to do. I guess, thanks for watching. See ya.